Sure. So my most embarrassing teaching story was my first year teaching. I was teaching third grade, and we had just lined up for lunch, and one of my students just peed right on the floor. She just didn't want to ask to use the restroom on the first day of school, and I just was embarrassed for myself. I was embarrassed for her. Yeah, it was a lot.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
It was very terrible. It was traumatizing, I think, for her and for me.
Yes. Yes. Did the students notice?
The whole line noticed. The whole line noticed. It was right before we were about
Aw,
to walk out the door.
Bless her
poor
heart.
thing.
Yeah. Well, you never forget that. As a kid or a teacher, do you?
No.
And Taylor, can you tell us your most embarrassing speaking moment?
Yes. So my first year in college, I was taking public speaking, and I didn't think that I needed to take public speaking because I had it all under wraps and I was a perfect speaker. Um, and I was up there telling a story. We were supposed to talk about what we did this summer. It was supposed to be a funny story, and was telling the story. I don't even remember what I was like talking about, but I was telling the story, and like the people in the class with me, my peers, their faces didn't change, like they weren't laughing, and I was like, okay. So I tried to tell jokes that they didn't change. So I was very mortified that I obviously am not a very funny person in front of my group of freshman peers. But then when I went to go sit down, the person sitting next to me said, "You still have a tag on your shirt." So not only was I not funny, but I also was standing up there in front of everyone with a tag still on my shirt.
Brutal. Just brutal. Did you learn to prepare for public speaking after that, or was it pretty much just wing it?
I ended up, because I had to transfer, that year was terrible, but I ended up transferring and the credits didn't like match up. So I took public speaking again, but it was an online public speaking and I did much better in that. But I work from home now, so it works really great.
See, it's just preparing you for
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
for our panel. So let's go ahead and get started. So I am Laura Fanning. I am here to represent Every Teacher Every Day, which is an initiative of the Kids in Need Foundation. Teachers, we are here for you, for all the teachers. And we are so excited to share with you our panelists today. We have Rachelle Farmer in the middle. Wave, Rachelle. There you go.
Right.
A teacher and also a PhD candidate. So she has been there, done that. She's going to tell you all her secrets. And then we have Taylor Ingles, who currently represents American College of Education, which provides education to teachers. So we'll get started first by Rachelle. Why don't you tell us a bit more about yourself and your education journey? How did you get to where you are?
So I first completed my undergraduate degree at UCLA. I taught in Los Angeles Unified, and I taught bilingual education and English learners. And then I went to Oxnard School District, which was migrant students. And then we came to Fairfax County Public Schools, which is the 10th largest school district in the US. And I have been here as an ESOL specialist. I've been here as a third grade teacher. And when I decided that I wanted to go for my master's, I started my master's at UVA, completed it in administration and supervision. I also, that really helped a lot. When I came back to Fairfax County, we moved away for a little while, came back. I've been a math coach, an instructional coach, and I've decided to recently go back into the classroom. And I am also working on my PhD in math education leadership at George Mason University.
And what are you teaching right now? What grade?
I'm teaching fifth grade, and I teach all subjects, except I also teach the advanced math section, which means I teach math 6th to 5th graders.
Of course you do. Good. Excellent. Okay, welcome. And Taylor, why don't you tell us about yourself?
Well, hi everyone. Thanks for joining us after our 15 minutes of difficulties. If you're still with us,
Shh, they weren't supposed to know.
I'm Taylor Ingles. My title is Field Enrollment Specialist for ACE. That is a fancy title for I am a state rep for American College of Education. I currently reside in Georgia. I'm a little bit south of Atlanta, but I was born and raised in Indianapolis. That's where ACE is headquartered, but we do service the entire 50 states and 50 countries. I started at ACE as an intern when I was finishing my undergrad at IUPUI in Indy. And since then, I've worked in several departments, but now I am a state rep. I currently work with our nonprofit partners like Kids in Need Foundation and school district partners. I actually partner with Fairfax County and state affiliates for our educator associations like TSOL. So.
Okay, excellent. So, Taylor, in your opinion, then, what are the benefits teachers who have very little time already? What benefits could they expect from investing their time in higher education, higher level education?
Well, teachers are raising up the next generation. So I think of any cohort of professionals, teachers of anyone should get more education, right? So some of the benefits are higher salaries. Teachers definitely want that. um, Unfortunately, they're not paid the greatest. Um,
What? I
you
hadn't
feel,
noticed.
yeah, feeling more confident in your teaching, gaining more open mind and teaching philosophies and your practices. And it can also launch you into a new part of your career if you want to go into administration or leadership.
So, I'm going to jump ahead in my list of questions here because you gave me a perfect segue. So, Taylor, what if I don't want to go into administration? Is a
Yes.
master's still something, or is something higher than that something I still want to pursue?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we have so many different programs. We have, the educate so many in education. And so if you don't want to be in leadership, you could, let's say you're a science secondary teacher. You could go get your master's in STEM education or get a master of advanced studies in science. Um, if you wanted to do that, then it also allows you to teach dual courses. It could allow you to teach at the collegiate level. So if you wanted to just change your method of teaching or where you're teaching, that could help as well. Or you could very well just get a master to upgrade the license that you already have.
Okay, excellent, excellent. And so, Rachelle, what was your motivation for choosing to pursue master's and then carry on to PhD?
So when I first got my master's degree, I started a master's program when I was 24 years old. And when you're early on in your career, you're not paid very high as a teacher. And so for me, my school district offered reimbursement for courses. So I thought, I'm going to do it now. So that was a big motivation for me. I wanted a certification that even if I wasn't going to use it right away, it could be something that would serve me well later on. So that was a big motivating factor for me to pursue a master's degree.
Okay, and then did you just kept going because you liked it?
So the master's degree was awesome because I gained a cohort of friends. A lot of the friends that I made in my program, even though I did not go into administration, a lot of those people became principals and knew me, had known me for a couple of years. And the whole networking, it just opens you up beyond your school building. So I got to know a lot of people, even within the region, even people who weren't in Fairfax County. Um, and so I did that. And then I was satisfied. And then I came back and I was a math coach and I just felt like, I'd like to do something at the collegiate level And so I'd like to pursue a PhD. And just because also I was thinking of it as a second career option. It also, I'm not just tied to my local school district, depending on where my husband and I choose to retire, in the next several years. I'm kind of mid-career now. That's something that would open possibilities for our family and for us as in retirement as supplemental income.
Fantastic. So it was love of learning, and then also it's like plan B.
Plan B. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. I like that. Okay. So you did your master's when you were younger. Doing a PhD, you have how many boys? Tell us.
So I have 3 boys. I was pregnant by the time I finished my master's, because I did it part-time at night. I had my first son, Joshua. And then I had my second son, Jaron. We moved to Hawaii and left Fairfax County. I had him in Hawaii. Then I had my third son, Jacob, in San Diego. And when I went back to get when I finally decided when Jacob was in kindergarten to come back to work, and we'd moved a few more places. We moved to Boston, we moved to Tokyo. After all of that, the fact that I'd gone to a name school for a master's, I'd gone to UVA, and then because of the degree that I'd gotten, which was administration and supervision, opened up coaching jobs for me. So I became a math coach and an instructional coach. And then I just realized that I just didn't have a practitioner lens. I had this other lens, which was a research lens. And so I was also interested not in just practitioner, which would be teaching, but what was the why behind the what? Why was I doing what I was doing? So that led me to a PhD in math education leadership. I was already coaching. The thing with the PhD and working in a university or going to a university is that universities have money that school districts don't have. A lot of times there are research money, but they just don't have access to classrooms. So there have been a lot of things that I've been involved with at the state level, at the national level. I've gotten a chance to publish like book chapters, write for magazines, for teaching children mathematics. I've gotten to do all of these things because I was connected to a university. So that was also, it was a different way for me to use my skill set.
Yeah, so you get to use your experience as a teacher to then help shape what the experience is like for other teachers.
Right. And, again, getting to network with other teachers, participate in lesson studies, work on research with PhDs it was something that I really enjoyed.
Awesome. And how has it been juggling a family and teaching? Because you were still working while you've been doing this, right?
So I have still been working while I've been doing this. I love teaching. I always say that magic happens in the classroom. So a lot of magic happens there. So I just I wasn't ready to leave the classroom. I could have gone full time. I just said, you know what? I can have the best of both worlds. I can do part-time and I can work full-time. So that means I get my snow days with my kids. So balancing a family, I have a lot of family support. So my kids, my husband, they know, okay, mom's doing school or mom's mom's gone or whatever. It's meant Costco dinners. It's meant, a lot of, kind of giving up perfection and feeling like, I needed to provide for my family by being the person to cook. Other people cook for me. Or pop things in the oven for me. But it's been a lot. I mean, I'm not going to say it hasn't. It's been a lot. But, I think that everybody's on board in my family. So that's been really helpful.
Good. So having family buy-in is a huge help for sure.
Oh, I can name all kinds of Costco dinners. Love
Nothing wrong with Costco dinners. That's true.
Oh,
and Rachelle is a Costco expert. You will not find anyone who can beat her at finding things at Costco. That is not a paid endorsement, by the way. Okay. So Taylor, given that teachers' lives do look very different, we get snow days, we get summers, we kind of have a different schedule than the rest of the world. Are there other ways for teachers to approach achieving it, taking classes on the side? Like, are there other rhythms? Are there shorter classes that kind of intensives they could do in the summer that would help them achieve this?
So specifically at ACE, instead of traditional semesters, we have terms. So a traditional semester would usually be for 4 or 5 months. We have terms which are 5 weeks. So you do 5 week terms for a master level and 10-week terms for a doctorate level, and you take one at a time for the master level or 2 to 3 at a time for the doctoral level. I always tell potential students that because I'm a student at ACE and I also have taken courses at a traditional college as well. So I've seen both sides. Um, by the time that you get into the course and you hit that like mid semester slump where you don't want to do it anymore, the course is over. So that we don't have to worry about that. But also there's, we're asynchronous. You don't have to be in a lecture at the same time as everyone else. You can do it when it works on your time. Of course, there are due dates and due times, but if you need, like yesterday, I worked on my discussion post for one of my classes while my daughter was at gymnastics. Like, that's not something you can do if you have to go to a classroom. So, the online schools like ACE are really beneficial for people who need to do that balancing act.
Exactly. And I mean, Rachelle, you're really close to the university that you
I'm
take
9
the
miles
classes
away.
at too. Yeah.
Right.
So that definitely helps too, is proximity. Okay. So Rachelle, how has your graduate degree made you a better teacher?
So I've been able to work with cohorts of teachers, which has been really exciting. And I've done that through my graduate program. A lot of times, if you're in a graduate program, you're piloting things for studies and for research. So a lot of times, I'll get access to things before necessarily a school district would. So that's really exciting to be part of and to learn as a practitioner as well as a researcher. So, in that way, also meeting people, networking with people, building a cohort of people, you get to know people and their families. So I think that the support network isn't just your family. The other thing is that it's also given opportunities, like I said, for my school, for my school building, because there's a connection there with the university. Another thing that I've gotten to do is I've also been able to be a mentor teacher for pre-service teachers. So that's exciting too, because because my professors know me already. They'll say, "Hey, we'd like to have you have a pre-service teacher in your classroom." So that's really exciting because I feel like teachers get to really have the benefit of seeing students and to be learners alongside of me as well. We never stop learning.
Right. Exactly. Okay, so let me ask you. I'm trying to think who best to ask this question to. Taylor, I'm going to ask you is what you think. And this is if you've got someone who is currently getting their undergrad and they want their master's, there are a lot of schools these days that are tacking on that 5th year sort of master's program.
Hmm.
I've heard some teachers say, well, but you need to be in the classroom or that master's doesn't mean a whole lot. What advice would you have for someone in that situation?
Well, I'm going to be completely honest. I'm not super familiar with that pathway. I do know
Sorry, I
that.
didn't mean to spring one on you.
Oh no,
I
you're
went off
totally
script.
fine. You're fine. I'm knowledgeable about, the master's and doctoral level being put
Okay,
together, but I'm
sure.
not very knowledgeable about them adding
Oh, so
the
you can
master.
you can crunch those masters and PhDs right up together too.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Okay. So Rachelle, then what do you know? I know you didn't do it this way because you went to the classroom straight away, but do you know some teachers who have done it that way, and what do you think?
Yeah, a lot of states are going toward the either a 3 and 2 or a 4 and 1, which are um, a 5th year master's. I would absolutely recommend doing it that way. There, like at my university that I go to for my PhD, there are 3 different tracks available. Whether you're graduating in 4 years and you're licensed that way, or you're graduating with that 5th year and you're working, in the classroom, or where you're going as a full-time student. So there's a lot of flexibility there. And I think that you complete the program that works best for you. Some, like the reason that I didn't do the master's right after my undergraduate is because it was expensive. And at that point, I really just needed a full-time job. So that was, but then there are people that are able to afford to be able to do that. So I think there isn't a right pathway to do it. I do think, though, the sooner you get your master's, the higher you're going to move on the salary schedule. So that is a big motivation to do it if you can afford to do the 5th year.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, Taylor, what can teachers expect out of grad school? They're ready to sign up. What should they expect? Besides
Well,
Costco dinners.
as a grad student myself, I can say that you can expect to be challenged, no matter what school you go to. Um, Grad school is hard work. It takes, discipline, time management. You're going to be stretched in your knowledge. You're going to be stretched in your comfort zones. It takes time that sometimes life doesn't allow for. And just like Rochelle said, you have to do what works for you, what works for your life. Um, Give yourself permission to not jump in if it's not something that your life is gonna, make room for at this time. We want you to succeed, not be stressed out all the time, and you're not gonna make a difference to anyone if you're pulling your hair out all the time. But also on the same token, I would like to say that grad school is very rewarding. You are adding, and Rochelle has touched on this, that you're adding to a collective knowledge base. You're making a difference to the academic world. You're getting to get to know people, even if even though we're online and they're not in the classroom, you're still taking classes with the same cohort of people sometimes. And so you get to know them and you get to know how their life is going. And so you feel camaraderie in that. Um, and at the doctorate level, your research, what matters to you, gets added to the teaching field and makes a difference in your practice. So it's very rewarding, and it's definitely something that doesn't need to be taken lightly, but also, like, if you're ready, go for it.
Rochelle, anything you want to add to that?
I think yeah, I think with the lens of people go to pursue graduate work for different reasons. And I think everybody, comes to it with an individual reason. But I agree, it is very, very rewarding to be in graduate school. It is time consuming, but at the same time, it's a feeling of you feel rewarded for the work that you're doing. And sometimes you can use, if you're a teacher, you can use what you're already doing in your practice for grad school.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Double up there.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Well, I do want to mention to our teachers that might be watching this thinking, this is a wretched year. This is a really bad time for you to talk to me about grad school. We want you to be thinking about it for down the road. We recognize that in the middle of this year, it's not time for you to sign up tomorrow, but we want to encourage you to go ahead and be thinking about the possibilities, because I think, if anything, pandemic has revealed the cracks in our education system, but it's people like Rachelle and Taylor in grad school who have the wisdom of the classroom as well as the wisdom of their degrees in order to impact that experience for others. So we need more teachers to step in and begin to fill that role. So don't feel exhausted by this ask right now, dear teachers. Just know that we want you to think of it in the future as a way to impact change on a system that we know you want to fix for the sake of the kids. So is there anything else you two want to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, you gave a good segue. One thing I always say to potential students is that I ask them where they want to go, where do they want to be in their career. And I really suggest taking this time if you're not ready to jump into just really begin envisioning where you want to be in the next 5 to 10 years. Because just like Laura said, um, you know, there does need to be change in our education system, and that's not going to happen without change makers like you. So, take some time to really envision what you want to do in the next 5 to 10 years, and then start doing some research about what it's going to take to get there. Because you don't want to jump into a program that's going to take 18 to 5, 6 years, depending on where you're going, and it not, work out for what you want to do. So that's what I highly suggest taking some time to really think about that.
Fantastic. Rachelle, anything you want to add?
Just additional education when you're an educator just opens a lot of doors. I think that there's more than just, going into administration. I didn't go into administration, and I have an administrative endorsement and a master's in administration and supervision. So I think, though, the once you have it, it opens other doors. People have a tendency to believe that you have capacity in ways that maybe others who don't hold those degrees have. So I would just I don't have any regrets about the time that I've spent. I like I said, I went through it pregnant. I was finishing my master's thesis with an infant. So I know it's hard, especially when you have kids. And now, the PhD with the 3 boys, it's a lot. Um, but I definitely rewarding.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for your time. If anybody watches this later and has questions, you can learn more about ACE. We've got some information on our website, everyteachereveryday.org. And then your website is americancollegeofeducation.org. Is that correct?
It's ace.edu.
Apologies for guessing. And if you have a question for Rachelle, leave it in the comments to this video and I'll make sure she gets it and we can get back to you. Unless you're on, where are you? Are you anywhere on social media that we can find you?
I am. I can put it. Do you want me to put it in the chat or?
Yeah, just say what it is and then we'll put it in the
It's
chat
at
later.
the Math Farmer, all one word. At the Math Farmer.
Excellent. Good. Well, ladies, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. And thank you everyone for watching. See y'all later. Bye.
Bye.